All right. So, if I could just have you start by telling me your full name, a little bit about yourself, your hobbies, where you live, music, what you do in music, that would be great.
Okay. I'm Teeny Lieberson. I live in Brooklyn, New York. I'm in a band called Teen, and I've been a touring musician for 7 years now. Yep, I was in a band before Teen called Here We Go Magic, and we toured extensively. Um, and now I'm just still trying to work as a musician.
And you have, is that your entire involvement in music? That's a long time to be touring, in a good way, of course.
Yeah, I've been involved in music basically just as a touring musician. Like I've never really done anything else as far as like other. I've never done merch or the other aspects of
Hmm.
touring. Or
Okay.
I mean, I have for myself in my band, whatever band I'm in,
Right.
but never taken any other
Um,
position.
okay. And what sort of music are you into? Favorite bands, artists, festivals?
Other bands that you said?
And what other sort of music are you into? Like
Um, I guess
genres?
yeah, I guess
What's
most of
influenced
this.
you?
Oh, it's influenced me. Um, Well, D'Angelo is one of my favorite musicians. I'm going to see him
All
tonight,
right.
actually. I
Excellent.
grew up listening to a lot of R&B, but then also I've always been involved in the indie world. So um, I'm a big fan of St. Vincent, Tune Yards, um, Mikachu and the Shapes, some more far out stuff too. More experimental music, jazz. So I started playing. That's what I kind of grew up playing.
Gotcha. So, what you of this of the genres you like and whatnot, have there been any tours or concerts or experiences that you think have been done really well?
That I've seen or that I've been involved in?
Yeah.
Both? Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, uh, I think the best show I saw last year, I think, was probably Tune Yards. That was the whole production was done really well. It was really seamless, and it was really powerful. Like there was no. I'm a big fan of it really being a show, and there not being. I mean, it can be cool if it's like the artist is having a conversation with the audience, but I'm much more of a fan of it feeling like a real show. And St. Vincent and Tune
Hmm.
Yards last year were the best at doing that. As far as like
Wow.
really seamless, really professional. It wasn't like they were letting it there was definitely like a barrier between the audience and the show, which I liked. It was more like going to see
Hmm.
someone on a really big scale, which I think is cool. That
Right.
St. Vincent's not so on smaller now, but like that more indie artists are interested in doing that too.
Interesting. And where were the places that these shows that you went to see? Where were they um, performed?
Tune Yards is at Music Hall Williamsburg, which she totally like
Okay.
transformed that room. It didn't feel like any other show I've been there. Um,
Hmm.
and St. Vincent was at Terminal 5. And same thing. Like
Okay.
I was watching it and it was like this I don't feel like I'm at Terminal 5.
Hmm. That's fantastic. Um, And all right, so let's talk about the process you guys go through. I mean, you've been touring now, and for quite a bit, and I imagine that over time, you have some shortcuts that help you through the process of planning a tour. From a macro point of view, do you feel like tour management has changed in the time that you have been a touring musician?
The only way that I would say it's changed from my experience is that I feel like there's more of a blending between sound engineer and tour manager because musicians are making less money. And um, I think that people, I mean, the last sound engineer that we worked with even said that like every call that she gets, basically they're saying like, well, can you also tour manage for the same amount of money? And to me, that's great, that's ideal, but it's also really exhausting for that person because sound engineering is such a huge job, and so is tour managing. And
Right.
and I find that also it's a really important job, but it's also I feel like a lot of the musicians that I know, or it's the job that they're taking on themselves. Because like a
Mm-hmm.
sound engineer, you can't do that from the stage. But
Right.
with tour managing, it's something that maybe someone in the band can take over. And like we've done that for the past little while. But when we have enough of a budget to have a tour manager, it is a total lifesaver. It's
Right.
it like because it's so much energy you don't think it is, but actually like having to think ahead and booking all your hotels and all that stuff, it can be kind of draining on the musician. But it's hard to fit it in your budget. And I think that I mean it's also harder for me to tell because in my beginning years I was in a band that played bigger gigs and made more money, so we
Mm.
could afford to hire a tour manager most of the time. And with this
Right.
band, it hasn't been quite the same. Um, but that would be the biggest difference I think I've noticed because I feel like when I first started touring, like you had your tour manager and you had your sound engineer. They didn't mix. And now people are
Right.
doing both, which I can't even believe. It's so much work.
Yeah, that seems pretty intense.
Yeah.
Um, what is a, you bring up a really good point when you start to talk about what a tour manager does. When you, in your mind, when you think like that's a good tour manager, what is it that they do? Is it the organizational stuff, like they've taken care of hotels and logistics to get you from place to place, or when you think of a tour manager, do you think of people who are handling stuff on site, meaning that they're there with you, they're collecting the money at the end of the day? What's the first thing you think of?
Um, well, both, but I guess more it's also keeping the band relaxed. It's like, so the band doesn't have to show up at a venue, hassle the guy, especially smaller clubs where they don't find you. Like, finding the guy who has to pay you, who has to give you the hospitality. And you have to like chase that person down while you're worrying about doing sound check. Or if something doesn't happen that was supposed to happen, like your rider wasn't fulfilled, or being the person, like, so the band member doesn't have to be the asshole like, or the jerk, like, well, dude, this was supposed to happen or this was supposed to happen, so that they can kind of like stay out of it, and somebody else, you feel
Right.
comfortable that somebody else is going to take care of that stuff. And if
Hmm.
someone else is
Hmm.
in charge, like I
Yeah.
also think that that's a big part of it. Like they're in charge, and it relaxes a band a lot to have somebody outside of the band being in charge. making decisions on your
Right.
behalf, saying like be at the bus or the van at 8 a.m. rather than a member
Mm-hmm.
of the band having to try and like boss everybody around, which doesn't always work, you know.
Right. Right.
I think
That
that's
makes
the biggest
sense.
component
Um,
is calming the band down,
right.
feeling like they're taken care
Right.
of.
So, in that's interesting. So, from a personality standpoint, um, what would what are the things that you would look for in a tour manager?
Um, it's delicate because you can't be too like, you know, much of a nag or something, but I think that you have to be the best tour manager I think I've ever had was he was just very like um no bullshit. It was just like very like this is the way, and he kind of defined that right at the beginning, and so everybody trusted him, and he was also really on top of it. So, I think it's like being kind of um strong and like confident and um, just cutting through other people's personalities too. Like you have to be very clear because if you
Hmm?
get into like the band dynamics, then that's no one's gonna listen to what you have to say. So you have to like be kind of like okay, you guys are doing your thing, and I hang out with you and I have a really good time with you, but 7 a.m. comes along, you better be down at the bus, whatever, the
Yeah.
van.
Yeah. Who was this tour manager that you just thought was awesome? Do you remember his or her name?
Yeah, his name is Mido El Afi. He's English. He tour manages mostly he might only do sound actually for Temples, that band Temples. Um, he's amazing. He's totally amazing. He was like, and he
Oh, yeah.
did both sound and tour managing. But
Wow.
he was
What was the
always
name again? You said Joe.
Mido, Mido. Francois is
Oh,
his
Mita.
first name.
Ah,
But he goes by
okay.
Mido, Mido, and his last name is El
Okay, good.
Afi. Yeah, but it was the kind of thing like he was really cool and really fun to hang out with. But then at the same time, if it was like there, I would go and find someone and be like, oh, they want, they don't want to give us a bottle of red wine, which is the only thing that we drink, and he like 5 minutes later it was figured out. Like no. I'd be like, there was just like with everything, it was like that. It was just figured out. So he's definitely one of the best people I've ever worked with.
Wow. All right, that's good to know. Um, so let's talk a bit about your process, if you don't mind. When you guys, how much time do you guys usually have to prepare for a tour?
It depends, but usually, I mean, we usually get a tour 2 months before we go out. So I'd say probably 2 months is normal for us. I mean, in past bands I've been in, it's been like Here We Go Magic, like we would know 6 months before. But with this band lately, it's been about 3 months. Um, it's pretty typical.
And then what's your trigger for deciding to go on a tour?
I mean, we're one of those bands that loves to tour, so we kind of try and stay on the road as much as we can. Um, so,
Mhm.
we kind of, and also like we sort of have the philosophy that the more people see you play, like it's kind of the only thing that still works. It's guaranteed. Like if people see you play, that's the best way to reach them. So yeah,
Yeah.
and obviously like if you have a new record, you have an EP, or you have a release of some sort, it's usually surrounded by touring.
Mm. So I, had a chance, I think, to speak with your sister or another
Mhm.
person in your band,
Mhm.
Catherine, and she says that the three of you guys sort of separate the different things as there's so much to do.
Mhm.
Um, how do you, when you get started for the portion that's you're responsible for, is there a person that you call right away to be like, okay, we're getting started on this, besides the booking agent, of course? Like, is there a person you call to be like, okay, I need this, this, and this? Or is that all on you?
I mean, it's pretty much within the band at this point, unless we go to Europe. So, when we go to Europe, we usually have somebody doing some sort of tour managing, which we would organize through our booking agent in Europe, um, and like a
Okay.
driver too. In Europe is really important, but in North America, it's usually amongst ourselves.
Mhm. Um, how do you keep your information organized? Do you have a lot of information that needs to be transferred from you to the venues, or you logistically
Yeah, I do
in the
all the
process?
advancing for this band.
Okay.
So
So
I've
how?
been making tour day sheets lately.
Mhm.
Um, but and so I've been using I kind of just like cut and paste them myself in like a Word program. I guess Pages or whatever. But I was trying to use that Master Tour app, but that was like expensive and kind of complicated. So I stopped doing that. So I pretty much do it all myself, like within Word documents, and then send it out to the girls once I receive all the information. But I do that all,
Yeah.
yeah, I guess on Pages. Is I just like do it myself. That's one
Right.
thing
Wow.
that has yet to be developed. It's a really good application. I mean, there's Master Tour, but it's like expensive and like not intuitive at all. I would not use it. Like a
Hmm.
really simple day sheet way to like keep your day sheets organized, to keep all your advances organized, because I do that all within my email. I filter everything, but then like it's not always, I don't have an application to use to keep everything in one place, and that would be incredibly helpful.
Sure. Well, that's certainly a major aim of remote control touring.
Yeah.
And part of their way of building it is to help manage aspects of the tour that can be managed remotely.
Right.
Um, so, uh, so that's really interesting. So when you are in this process, you keep it all organized on Pages, Word. You just copy and paste.
Hmm.
Um, what is during this whole process, pre-production? What's the thing that you're psyched about? What part of this process is fun for you?
Um, not much of it.
None of it. Yeah, that's totally fine.
I mean,
Um,
the rehearsing, the playing the music is great, but I don't know. I don't. I mean, I like knowing where I have to be and being on top of that, but only to relax myself so I can sort of like see what the month is going to look like. But if I didn't have to ever do any of this stuff ever again, I would be perfectly happy. Like it feels like a total pain in my ass most of the time. Sorry, I'm
right.
just like swearing a lot on this.
No, that's great. It's What are the different ways that you communicate with everybody you need to communicate with, like the venues, the you know, booking agent, other band members? Is it mostly email, phone, text, in person?
Um, Mostly email, sometimes phone,
Okay.
but mostly email.
Sometimes phone, but mostly email. And for you, when does the bulk of the work begin when you're planning a tour? So you might have 2 months to plan, but maybe, at least for you, it doesn't really start to get crazy until, you know, it sounds like in what you do, a lot of it happens, like you plan it, but then you probably still have more to do throughout the actual tour itself.
Right. Yeah, I think for me, because I'm doing a lot of the advancing,
Mm-hmm.
two weeks before it gets really crazy. But then also while we're going, because like hotels and continuing to follow up with advancing with people, sort of throughout the
Yeah.
tour.
Are there venues that you really like to work with?
Yes.
Who are
Trying
who are
to
they,
think
and
of
what is it that you
one.
like about them?
We hit some really good venues. Chicago. What's that one called? Um, well, the Fillmore in San Francisco is one of the best.
That's cool. I've spent a lot of time there as a spectator. What as a band member, what do you like about it?
um, it's just they have like great hospitality. The crew is amazing. Helps you like make sure that everything is going to be taken care of. You're comfortable. They help you with your gear, you know, and your gear, so that's a big thing for us. We have a lot of heavy equipment, and I mean that's big for any band, but especially us because um,
Yeah.
you know, it's just nice to have the help.
Mm-hmm.
The Pabst Theater in Milwaukee is really great too.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of any smaller. The Independent, it's more like they're just they're on top of it. They contact you rather than you having to chase them down, which is exhausting.
Yeah. It sounds
Williamsburg
pretty.
Ballroom, same thing. Like
Okay.
they make sure that you are taken care of rather than other way around.
Mm-hmm. So you must have to. How do you manage then your day to day when you're actually in the production process? Is it, do you wake up first thing in the morning and have to deal with advancing issues, day of issues? What does that typically look like when you're on tour and you have to manage the tour management piece of it in addition to actually, everything else?
I mean, for the most part, if I do a good job of pre-planning, like a couple weeks ahead, then it kind of that keeps the ball rolling. And then then I know that I have to, there may be some mornings where I'm waking up early. I haven't been able to reach somebody, and I need to find out what's happening. But usually, I would do that the day before or 2 days before, because I don't ever want to be in a situation where I don't know where to be or what time. And also, when you throw in like sessions that you may have in the city that you're playing or interview, advancing is really important to know what's going on because you need to plan around that. And then that's what you need to do that morning, blah, blah, blah,
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's the crux of it. It sounds like. Um, that sounds like the crux of it. From your perspective as a musician, and you could pick up the phone and basically hand this off to someone, what would be the reason why you wouldn't pick up the, like you said, it's cost, right? Cost is one piece of it.
Cost is
Is
number
there,
one.
yeah. Um,
That's
but
maybe
once
the
you,
only reason.
but if you did pick up the phone, like, who would you pick up the phone to? How would you then say there were 10 companies out there or 10 people, and
Mhm.
it's not that cost isn't a factor, right? Like, of course you'd get the best if you could, if money were no factor, but let's just say that you had the budget for a tour manager, right?
Mhm.
And you had like 3 or 4 that you could work with. What starts to be your next set of criteria that you're like, okay, this would be what I'd want.
How they work with the band, personality would be a big part of it. Um, because we're four women, I think sometimes gender is something that we consider also. Um, we're not opposed to male or female, but sometimes
Uh-huh.
we go towards man because we have so many women around us that sometimes it's nice to have a man. Um,
Yeah.
but then the last person we worked with was a woman. It was great. You know. But it is something that we do think about. Um,
Yeah. Okay.
assertive, how assertive someone is, and maybe their past experience. Like I like to hear from other bands that I trust, like if the person was good, if they were organized, if they were respected by other bands that they worked with, you know,
Mm-hmm.
if they're a good driver.
Sure.
I
Actually,
don't want to deal with
that's
someone who's a terrible driver. No way.
um, it's funny. I think I missed a section in sort of that enthusiasm there. When you wrap up a tour, how long does it take you and your portion to wrap up a tour or a show?
Me, not. I don't really do anything because Catherine does all the accounting.
Got it. But
So,
returning equipment, things like
uh,
that. Um,
well, we don't. We we only really do that in Europe. We don't really do that in America. We use our own gear. Maybe 2 days dropping off our gear, returning a car, but we kind of do a lot of that. We do that ourselves. It's we
mhm.
don't really rent that much stuff other than a car.
Okay. Right. Okay. So let's get back to this barriers. My understanding, and I think I heard a bit of this from Catherine too, is that the reason you would pick up the phone is if you were going to Europe, mostly probably because you might not know the lay of the land, etc.
Hmm.
What would be the trigger to picking up the phone to start with a tour services company, right? You get sign off on budget. Um, who would be that person you would call for recommendations, or do you have a list of people that you know
Um,
you'd want to work with?
I mean, at this point, yeah, I have. I would probably reach out to engineers or tour managers that I've already worked with to see whether or not they're available, and if they weren't, who would they recommend?
Hmm.
And then I
Hmm.
would probably also ask our booking agents if they had recommendations or our label. And then also my fellow musicians. See who they've worked with, who they've liked.
Yeah.
A lot of the time I ask first, like, our team.
You'd ask your team first?
Yeah, like, like our booking agent, our label, people that we've worked with, because they might not know some of the, because I already know so many people from doing this for so long. They might know somebody else that I haven't met yet.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, what is your attitude about the use of technology in managing tours? So, if someone said to you, I worked with so and so, he's super technologically armed, what would your response to that be?
Good.
Why is that?
I mean, if that's another reason why I liked Mito so much is because, he instantly sent us our tour book that we all had on our iPhones and we check every day so that every band member can also be responsible for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
You have the information, and he stayed on top of that.
Mm.
And for me too, because I send out our stage plot and all our information, when you can have that all in your phone, or it's some way that you're doing it where it's mobile, that's the best.
Right. Well, do you know what technologies he used? Is that how you heard about Master Tour and started using it?
No, I think he uses just like Illustrator or something.
Mm.
As I asked him, I
Wow.
reached out
So
to him. So I was like, how do you do this? Because I'm not finding any applications that are working for me. And he said he just does it all himself.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's great.
I know.
So I think that's like a good transition out of process into sort of your perceptions of the marketplace and what's going on there, especially as a musician who has to do it all herself or themselves. You said you tried Master Tour, clunky, hard to use. Do you use task management systems like Asana or Maven Link? QuickBooks, Google Docs. Are those
Google
anything you
Docs.
also use in your process?
Yeah, because Google Calendar, like I can set Google's applications help me most because I use Gmail, so I can keep everything organized within that. But I mean, I would prefer
Right.
to have an application where I could just, like, I had a template of a day sheet and a place where I could keep all my advances. Or like a promoter could write you through this application and give you the advance. It's like you're constantly like pulling information from one source, having to compile all of it. It's a lot of work.
Yeah. That's a really good point. Like, if you could have a priority of the things that you wanted, you've already said some of those things. It's like, bam, it needs the tour book has to be mobile on your iPhone.
Right.
You want a template for a day sheet. You want a way for the promoter to give you the advanced information so that you don't have to chase it around or whatnot. What are some other things that, from your point of view, that you would like to have in a technology package that would make your life easier, or from someone?
What else? I don't know. Maybe some sort of like maps, like routing. Driving, like you always having to look at the best route, where you're going to go. That's like a big part of your day too, planning that out.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if you have like 2 days where you have a day off and like a driving day.
Mm-hmm.
You have to plan your drive. So something that would help that. You're going from San Francisco to Portland, which happens a lot. Figuring out like where there are like some hotels, because like we've been on stretches sometimes where we don't know. Like it could be a stretch of 2 hours where there's no gas stations, no hotels, and then you're like in the middle of nowhere, you run out of gas. Like just being able to plan that out without
Right.
because you don't always remember that when you're on the road. Like you don't always remember that when you're on the road. Like, there's no food and no gas. And so you can't like plan ahead, because like I know that now, like traveling from El Paso across the tent, from Texas, that you have to prepare your day, make sure you have enough food, because there's nothing on that stretch. Like that kind of stuff is helpful, because that's a big part of your planning, and that tour managers do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that's a big piece of it. It's that insider knowledge that people have that makes them so useful, right? It's like,
Right.
yeah, I've done this 1,000 times, and then you want to learn from the other people who have done it.
Right.
Makes sense. So, so that's technology. Tell me about the services that you use, like Expedia, van companies, travel agents, printers. Are there go-to ones that you use?
Let's think. We use Priceline and Hotwire a lot for hotels, because it's cheap at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the main two that we definitely like stick to.
Yep.
We like, who did we rent from last time? Hertz and Enterprise are really good car rental companies. If you have a bigger budget, Bandigo is great.
Okay.
For van rental.
Yeah.
Those are mainly it.
And what do you like about them? Is it the deals, or
Well, with
is it mostly the
Hertz,
deals you like, or is it that they're nice?
deals, and also they do like small business deals. So we're an LLC. So we get discounts, and also it's just they have good services. So like unlimited mileage, and like know that if something's wrong with your car, you can just get a new one. Which did happen to us. Our car got broken into, and the back one and like we just got a new one right away. So those things are helpful. So we're on the road for 2 months.
Right. Totally. That's super helpful, especially since you're responsible for it all yourself.
Right.
So, okay, that's great. So now we're in the portion, sort of the last leg of the conversation, which is about positioning. And essentially these are ways in which it's not unlike a tagline, but it's, not like a final tagline, but it's something to describe a point of view about the service. And as I told you, Remote Control Touring at its heart is a tech company, right? Or at least something that's offering a technology service that's that has service wrapped around it, right?
Right.
Because if someone just handed you a piece of software and said, hey, this is supposed to help you manage your tour, you'd probably be like, oh my God, it's just another thing for me to fill out, which is I think sometimes what people feel about Master Tour.
Right.
So I'm going to read you one of 4 positioning statements, as we call them. And what I'd love for you to do is tell me what your first thoughts are. Do you like it? Do you dislike it? Does it bring you in? Would you be like, oh, what's this about? And then I'd love for you to describe back to me, if someone said this to you about it, what does it make you think of?
Okay.
Okay? Great. So the first one is, we're remote control touring. We're a tour services company. We make we're tour management at your fingertips. You're in control. What's your first impression of that?
Sounds good, but am I going to have to do all the work? Like, how much am I still going to have to do?
Right. And what if someone would be like, oh no, we're a services company. You give us a call and we take care of everything. I guess the question is really, does it sound like a product or does it sound like a service to you when we say that? Tour management at your fingertips, you're in control.
Product. Doesn't come across as a service for some reason. I don't know. Maybe it's the way it's worded, but.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yes, exactly. Okay, so the second one is, we're remote control touring. We're a tour services company. We want you to do what you do best and make touring about music again.
I don't know what you do. But I'm also very skeptical. So.
No, that's good. It's, the idea is to find something where you'd be like, yeah, that's bullshit, but I'd ask you a second question.
Right. Right.
Because that's, I think what I've found and Kurt and I have talked about this a lot, is that everyone's skeptical. You know what I mean? You've got so many people that want to be in the industry and, give you a hard time, jerk you around, that it's sort of like, what's the real deal here?
Right.
So you don't know what we do. Okay. So when someone says to you, we're a tour services company, what does that say to you?
Yeah, I guess it says to me, like, I don't really know what that means.
What if I said we were a tour management company?
That would make more sense.
Okay. So when you think of a tour management company, what do you think?
Someone who's going to help you manage your tour, like somebody who's going to take the place of a tour manager. Because the management part of that, like when you just say tour services, it's kind of like, well, does that mean you're like making us look pretty on stage? I don't know.
Yeah, you don't know if it's a production company or what it is.
Right.
Totally. Right. So, so then if I said to you, we're a tour management company, which explains what we do, we let you do what you do best and make touring about music again. Make touring about music again for you. What does that say to you?
That's a little better. It's just for me, the catch is the management. Like if you could somehow explain, like we're making it about music again, because we're going to handle all of the management. Like that. If that was a clear message, I would be like, okay, because it is alluring. Okay, we're making it. We're letting you be a musician again and not a manager. Like that's rewarding, especially for someone like me who does it all the time.
Right. Totally. Okay. Well, then let's try position 4, which is you know, we're remote control touring. We're a tour management company. You're in safe hands.
I mean, to me, it's still a little vague, but
or you're taken care of.
right,
You're taken care of.
that makes me feel like, okay, that's the one where I'd be like, okay, well, what are you about? Because you're asserting me that I'm going to be okay, and and then that says to me like the company is confident that they can take care of everything that I would need taken care of. But it's still a little vague as to how what exactly you do. But I would ask a second question.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's just it, right? Like when you're trying to make a change, I don't want to say that they're trying to make a change to the industry. They just want to make it better, which means it's a different solution, right? Like it's so expensive it's getting more and more expensive to tour, right? How do you keep the process alive, right? Because part of what makes you guys better and better musicians is the fact that you are out on the road. And so the less you're able to do that, how do you practice your craft?
Right.
Is one piece of it. And then how do you make a living? So, the way it's working now isn't working. So they're really trying to figure out ways to apply technology in a way that saves money and saves time and makes life easier for people. And right now it's a service because everything's disjointed, but eventually it should be something, it helps you out,
Right.
Okay, so this is the last position. We're remote control touring. We're a tour management company. Welcome to a new way to tour.
Okay. What does that mean? But maybe I'd ask a question.
Do you feel like tour management do you feel like you need a new way to tour?
No, that's the thing. Like I don't necessarily feel like I'm over it. I need like a new solution. It's more like I need like a lot of people who are on the road all the time love what they're doing. But it's just you feel frustrated because you need help. And if you could be relieved of some of those and have everything feel organized, then that's great.
What about a better way to tour?
Yeah.
If this doesn't work out, you should go into copywriting. I'm just teasing. You're going to be big and famous, and you'll be like, who is that girl that I talked to? Helping you write lyrics. Okay, so just one more set, and we're almost done. It's about competition, the market. So you had talked about how in Europe, you had a tour manager or somebody set you up with a tour management company that really helped you in the process. And as I understand, in the UK, tour management companies are just much more prevalent. Have you ever seen a service out there that's trying to do this, that's trying to provide services around tour management, especially here in the U.S.?
Not really in the U.S. No.
It's more. Yeah. It's funny because I think what happened was, a lot of U.S. bands wanted to tour in Europe, and they were just like, didn't know what to do, couldn't find people, and so the market really demanded it.
Right.
And it's just something that people use. Okay, what do you think of competition like at Venue. Have you ever used that or used them?
No, I don't even know
How
what
about
that.
something? It's an application that for merch logistics.
Oh, right. No, we have used that.
Yeah. Um,
My
did
sister
you
uses
like it?
that for merch.
Okay.
Right, because that just does all of your, you can sign off everything on that application directly. I forgot about that
Yeah.
one. Yeah, we use that.
And you guys use that. Any thoughts about that?
I don't really do merch that much, so I'm not exactly sure how easy it is or not.
Yeah. How about something called artist growth?
Oh.
They focus much more on the
Uh,
scheduling portion, calendar that makes your life easier.
uh, uh,
All good. One more. Let's see. And you said Master Tour you're not in love with.
it was impossible. It was like so difficult to figure out, and I'm pretty good with technology, and it was just like it's like the least intuitive thing I've ever done.
Hmm.
Really convoluted.
Right. What if you were to set aside a portion of your budget to help you with your tour management services, how much would you put aside? Would you be willing to spend $20 a month, $50 a month?
Well, it depends. I mean, if it were really, I mean, that was part of my problem with Master Tours. I was like $40, and I was and this program sucks. But if it were amazing and were totally changing my life, I don't know, 40 feels decent to me still, just
Mm-hmm.
because I'm doing it myself. So it's like I'd rather only pay, $10. But if it were something that, we're really taking the place of another person and like really helping me out with getting things organized, I'd probably be willing to pay more, like $50. But that feels high
Yeah.
because I've never really used something like that.
Well, and maybe if someone said to you, listen, if you work with us, like, we might be able to give you pointers that, um, you know, might help you sell more merch, might help you do these other things, right? Might save you money. If they could show you up front what that money saving looked like, perhaps you'd be more inclined to go with them.
Yeah, probably. It's also a new service. Like this idea is a great
Okay.
idea, but it's like nothing I've never heard of it before. Like when Kurt first told me about it, I was like, that's a really good idea because no one's done it.
When you thought it was a good idea, yes, for sure, no one's ever done it. Did you get a sense of like, I guess for me, it's like when you say something's a good idea, is it because you're like, yeah, I would use it, or it's like, like, yeah, like I can see someone using it.
I mean, to me, when I first heard about it, it was more like, how is that going to work? That sounds like a great idea, but how is it going to actually work? You know,
Yeah.
I couldn't really wrap my head around how someone could manage you remotely. But the more I think about it, it makes a lot of sense, and like a good
Right.
way of saving money. Because, you know, having a tour manager on the road can be, you know, like it's like $250 a day. And for a band who's only making $50 a show, like that's just, you can't, not possible.
Right. Right. Yeah, and to your point, like the best way for people to know how great you guys are as a band is they need to experience you, and I think the same can be true said of this. You know, the process is they use technology. They do all the pre-production planning, and they send you out on the road with an iPad that has all the information that you're looking for. And you can pick up the phone and say, hey, I don't know what this is. Can you tell me? So rather than being like, okay, I've got to call this place today to check up on something that's happening in 2 days. You call one person. And that's it. And then they do the wrap, and they send things out.
Right, and they deal with it for you, so you don't have to do that.
Right.
Right.
You know, and there are definitely going to be moments when it's like end of the show and you need to get your money, and it's like, you know, you're just like, and that you can't, the person's not can't be found anywhere, and those are the times when it's like, yeah, it'd be great to have a physical tour manager, but you know, that's the piece we're trying to really be clear that that piece though can be made so much easier when you've done all the prep work properly.
Right.
So.
Right. Well, if you have somebody speaking to the venue and finding out how you're going to settle, with, you know, making sure that person is accountable, then it'll be a lot easier.
Totally. Yep. Well, I know I didn't do a great job of selling the company, but what I do appreciate is your perspective, because I think Kurt really designed this kind of with you guys in mind, right?
Oh,
It's like, listen, I just hated this part of the process of touring. How can I make it better?
Right.
So your point of view is super, super helpful. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
I'd love to be able to send you guys something. What is the best mailing address for you and Catherine to receive the gift cards?
My address. I could just email you my address.
Yeah, that's great. I'd love that. And I'm going to follow up with Catherine as well. We'll send a note and just give us your address, and then we'll dispatch it in the mail. Or if you prefer us to send it to you via email, I just think sometimes when it's a card in your wallet, you'll remember to spend it.
Yeah. No. Mail is fine.
Okay, great. I think Catherine said you guys were up in Woodstock. Yes.
I'm in the city right now, but we're there we're leaving Woodstock next week to come back to the city permanently.
Got it. Well, I hope it was a productive time.
Yeah, it was.
Do you have any more questions for me? I know that kind of might have felt like a one-way conversation, but it was really helpful for us to be able to gather your perspective. So thank you.
No. It's good to know. I mean, good to talk to you to understand it more too.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about.
Yeah. Good. Well, thanks again for your Saturday morning, and have a lovely day. Stay warm.
You too.
All right. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.